Hey guys, Quinlan here, bringing you another commentary, this time from Warsong Gulch. And this is a pretty good game. I just was trying to put out a quick video for you guys because I hadn't put one out in a few days, and I hadn't put a lock video out in a little while. So I tried to just get on a Warsong Gulch, get a good video going, and this goes well. I get a couple deaths, but they couldn't really be avoided. You'll see why later on. But so what happens is I went by the initial horde force storming from the right side of the map because I didn't really want to. I didn't like as an Affliction Warlock. If you don't have enough healers or if you don't have enough DPS going for the main horde force, you're gonna die, and you don't want to lose your buffs. Like nobody really reapplies buffs too often during a battleground, and that just gets really annoying when you die right at the start and lose all your buffs. And every player who doesn't die has an advantage over you. Everyone's dealing more damage than you. All those things. So I go by, but then I see I have help, so I turn around, I start casting on the horde. I put an infernal down to deal with some AoE because there's a good amount of them. But then an enhancement shaman decides to attack me, and that just screws me over completely. Enhancement shamans can wreck me as an Affliction Warlock, specifically because they can interrupt the fear every 5 seconds. I think 5 seconds if glyphed, maybe even 4 seconds if spec right. I'm not sure. There's talent in the elemental tree, but they don't. You don't get that as enhancement. Uh, no wait, yeah, you do get that as enhancement. What am I talking about? Yeah, so I think it's 5 or 4 seconds. I don't know, but yeah, so that makes it really hard to get off unstable affliction, a haunt, a fear cast on an enhancement shaman. Also, their tremor totem will get you out of the howl of terror that you initially throw down, along with the fact that you can, if you try and slow them down with curse of exhaustion and kite, they can get back up to you really quickly by breaking them with either their shamanistic rage, which will, when it's glyphed, will get them out of magic debuffs, and their spirit walk, their spirit wolf ability, that will get them also out of movement impairing effects. So, and then once even if you teleport away, even if you use a soul burn teleport, all they have to do is be quick enough to click frost shock, and you're frozen in place. Thankfully, as a gnome, I have escape artist, and I can often get out of that, but most warlocks don't, and don't have escape artist. And sometimes, like really, sometimes you have no other options in that case but to use a trinket. And realistically, there isn't like enhancement shamans don't really have any big CCs, but so I can you'll see I use a trinket on a frost shock in this game, and it saves my life. I make it out because I trinketed that instead of just waiting for him to get back on me. And so sometimes it's worth it. I don't know if every time, but yeah. So as everybody knows, 4.2 is fast approaching, and I'm just gonna quickly go over some changes that will be happening next patch that I've just read on the internet. So these have been out for a few days, I know, but since my last video, I'll be mentioning these. So now for Unholy Death Knights. Unholy Might now increases strength by 20%, up from 10. And that in combination with the Frost nerfs that have been coming out, I think will mean that we'll be seeing all the Frost Death Knights going back to Unholy. And I like that. I like fighting Unholy Death Knights much more than I liked fighting Frost Death Knights. It might just be me, but just I was actually really good on my Warlock at fighting Unholy, even with their Lichborn and their movement impairing effects and their anti-magic shield. Like a while back when all the Death Knights were Unholy, I could sometimes win in the level 60 PvP gear just by kiting. But then again, some of that was back when Curse of Exhaustion was at its peak, 50%. But I've done it since then. Alright, so just going to commentate on what's happening in the game because it's getting a little intense right now. I was trying to kill a Holy Pally, but we just couldn't get it down. We almost did. And suddenly a couple of mages start storming up the hill. And before this happened, I put a demonic circle at the top of the hill because I thought that'd be really useful. And as it turns out, that saved my life. I got out of LOS of the mages and they couldn't kill me. So now I'm just trying to dot up everybody down in the middle. And as you can see, the dot ticks are flying. Everybody's taking damage. I'm dealing a ton of damage at the moment. I pop Demon Soul, so I can increase my damage even more. And yeah, I'm not expecting really to get any kills off this. I'm just trying to. The more dots I have out, the more healing I'm actually doing. So it's always worth it just to dot everything. Besides, the more damage you can do, the more likely you are to get a kill. But it would be pretty easy for that Pally to just top anyone off. So I try to pull somebody away, and I managed to get the Arcane Mage completely isolated from the healer. So now, as you can see, I got a full dot set on the Arcane Mage, and he's down. There's no way he's making it out. He goes down. I turn around, Fire Mage right there, dot him up, and it's close right now. I have a bit of a lead, and then I just start spamming Drain Life, but then he interrupts me, so I run up, and I try to get behind him, and I actually succeed in him missing the cast on me, and that might have actually saved my life. And yeah, it's really close right now. The problem is that I have no mana whatsoever, so I go for a fear, and thankfully I get a good dot tick and he goes down. So that was just a 2v1 right there, and that went really well. But you can't really call it a 2v1 just because if you stay on the Arcane Mage, they'll just drop like a rock. They deal so much damage, but if you just sit on them, if you don't let them cast, they'll just drop so fast, and they're really easy to kill. I don't know. Especially as a caster, like, I can silence him, I can fear him before he can use any casts. Like, they don't really have many instant cast spells that are really effective. So, speaking of the Arcane Mage, here he comes back again. He pops Mirror Image. He goes for a Blanket Silence on me, which wasn't really the right move because even with my low mana count and health count, I could add. See, look how quick I take him out. He barely did anything to me. And I know good Arcane Mages can wreck people, but if you're not good, then it just does not go well. Alright, so I kind of strayed away from what I was talking about earlier. I was trying to go through the changes. Balance. And in balance we've been seeing a lot of damage upgrades because they just haven't been doing enough damage. So Starfire and Wrath, their damage is being increased by 23% each. And that is a lot of damage. Boomkins already deal a ton of damage as it is with these attacks, especially in an Eclipse. So, those are just going to deal so much damage. It's ridiculous. Alright, so now moving on to Feral. Now, Feral has a ton of changes now. So, for example, I don't really know how these changes work. I don't know Feral's damage enough to actually figure out if this is a buff or a nerf. If anyone could clarify this would be great. But all the changes read like this. Mangle now deals 540% normal damage plus 302 damage instead of 530% normal damage plus 315. And they're all like that. Either the percentage goes up or down, or the damage increase goes up and the damage increase either goes up or down. And I don't really know what that means. If someone could really clarify that for me, that would be great. Because is that a buff? Is that a nerf? I guess if I really took the time, I could figure it out. But yeah, I just really don't get it. Also, they're getting a pretty big buff in Savage Roar, which now increases auto attack damage done by 80% up from 50%, and that's 30%, and that is a lot. Alright, so now I'm just going to go back to the game, because as you can see, Enhancement Shaman on me again. I Howl of Terror, but of course he gets out of that right away. I do Death Coil for a fear, but he once again gets out of that right away as soon as the fear gets on him. See, as you can see also, all my buffs are getting taken off from him. And I'm trying to just get a good kite off him, but see, he just freezes me in place and makes it really difficult. Fortunately for me, I realized that he reflected that spell back at me, meaning that he is Grounding Totem glyphed, and that's not what you want to be against a caster. You need more grounding totems, because really, like for example, that did nothing for him. He reflected a Fell Flame at me, and so just not Grounding Totem's not a good choice. He could use the Grounding Totem for a fear or something like that, or something that could really help him out, instead of just reflecting a Fell Flame back for like 35 seconds more cooldown. So I try to get to the health buff, and to add insult to injury, he just takes it. Thankfully, a Pally comes, and though it looks like the Pally's just running around in the moment, he gives me a little bit of a break. I get off a Soulburn teleport, I Howl of Terror, I get the full Howl off, and I manage to make it out of there. It's really hard to get away from an Enhancement Shaman, and then what do you know? Arcane Mage. No cooldowns up, go for the fear, blankets, silence, and I'm down. But fortunately I have a Soul Stone, and this guy is too dumb to notice. So I get up and I get a full fear off. He doesn't even turn around, doesn't try anything. This is actually when Death Coil comes off cooldown too, so I could use that if I needed to. but I really don't think I do. And but then I did. Sorry, I forgot that I actually used that. That was just kind of a dumb comment, but whatever. Hopefully, not too dumb. But anyway, so I take him out. As you can see, this is just once again an example of how easy it is to kill an arcane mage. All I needed was one cooldown and one fear. And yeah. Alright, so just going back to PvE for a second, if anybody hasn't seen this, I really suggest checking this out because this is sick. Alright, so there's an item you can get from Fandral Staghelm. He's one of the bosses in Firelands, and it's called Fandrel's Flame Scythe, and it's actually a pretty sweet item. And what it does is, if you're a feral druid and you equip that thing, when you go into combat, you become like a fire cat, and you're just flames billowing off you and like flying off your tail and shit, and it's sick. Seriously, like it's awesome. I don't really know how to put that any other way. Check it out because it is so cool. And all druids in the public test realm are now equipped with that. So if you want to check it out quickly before 4.2 and before you have to be a hardcore raider to ever be a fire cat again, then I'd check it out because it looks sick from the videos I've seen on YouTube. Uh, and speaking of items, I don't know, maybe everyone else has seen this before, but I just heard about the new Terragosa's Wrath spell effect. Terragosa's Wrath obviously is the legendary staff for casters. And what it does is it has a chance of duplicating, and this is a spell that you cast. And I hate things like that because that is such a huge advantage. And it's just like so many people are divided amongst PvE and PvP. Like so many people are solely PvE, so many